In business, there's no room for guesswork. Every shipment matters. Every deadline counts. When you're trying to keep operations running smoothly, the last thing you need is uncertainty. That's why reliability is at the core of USPS Ground Advantage. Every package moves through a secure nationwide network tracked from door to door with affordable upfront pricing and delivery you can depend on. Because knowing your logistics are handled lets you focus on everything else. Visit USPS.com/ground advantage to start shipping with confidence. USPS Ground Advantage. We mean business.
You're listening to this podcast, so I know you've got a curious mind. Here's a helpful fact you might not know yet. Drivers who switch and save with Progressive save over $900 on average. Pop over to Progressive.com, answer some questions, and you'll get a quick quote with discounts that are easy to come by. In fact, 99% of their auto customers earn at least one discount. Visit Progressive.com and see if you can enjoy a little cash back. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National average 12-month savings of $946 by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive between June 2024 and May 2025. Potential savings will vary.
It's Monday. And it's a special day in the basement because we are going to be celebrating your 401k. And I know what money geeks we are here, like how excited you are. Mom is making a cake. Doug is all so
There's
excited.
Probably people driving their car right now that just blacked out from excitement. 401ks? Are you kidding me?
I don't know how I drove off the road. How did I drive off a road? Like,
Sorry,
wait, I have
officer.
a 403B. We're talking to you too. 457. I know it's that. But you know who we're talking about first? We're talking about those people that kept us safe all weekend while we were playing. Well, some of us, Doug, you and I were playing. We'll get into what OG was doing here in a moment. But I think it's time that we raise our mugs because on Mondays, we salute those people on behalf of the men and women stacking Benjamins in Mom's basement and the men and women stacking Benjamins around the world. Here's to our troops. Thank you so much. All those people serving us, helping us, keeping us safe. Let's all go stack some Benjamins together now.
Thanks, everybody.
Cheers.
You're gonna end up eating a steady diet of government cheese and living in a van down by the river.
Live from Joe's mom's basement, it's the Stacking Benjamin Show. I'm Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug, and want a big raise? Here's an easy way to give yourself one. Learn to use your 401k retirement plan better. On today's episode, we'll share tactics to make the most out of a tool an alarming number of people take for granted. Plus, we'll share some big wins from our stacker community, and I'll serve up some of my mind-bending money trivia. You'll be resharing it with your friends all week. And now, here come two guys, one who just finished a donut and the other who just rode his bike all the way through a triple bypass. Wait, what? It's Joe and O-J-J-J-J-G.
Hey there, stackers. That's right. Nothing like a good donut on a Monday morning. And we are like the deliciousness of financial donuts. I can't make that work. I'm working, Doug. I'm trying to work it. How are you, man?
Abort!
We'll fix it in post or not. We might let that one go. How are you?
So happy, just joyful to be here. I want to hear about this thing that OG did as a little side quest.
Well, yes, because you and I did the same stuff we normally do, and we felt pretty good about ourselves until we found out what our counterpart here did. Triple bypass, not what you think it is. This is the different triple bypass. If you think about the passes between mountains up and over mountains, triple. Doug, he didn't go over one mountain. He didn't even go over 2 mountains.
I don't think you're understanding it correctly because they bypassed the mountains. I think he just rode out in the eastern plains of Colorado. They went around the mountains. They avoided the difficult parts. I think that's what this ride was.
Yeah, a big congratulations to you, OG man. Do hard things, my friend, and you did something that I'm very envious of, and it was fun tracking your progress, buddy.
Yeah, it was cool. It was all it was cracked up to be. My wife said on Saturday after we got done, she said, you look to be in good spirits. Do you think you're going to do this again? And I said, well, I'll give you an example. Remember when we had babies and you had just delivered one? And I was like, well, that looked like fun. I like that whole process. Maybe we should do that again. And you wanted to punch me in the face? And you said, hey, let's just let this little thing grow for a little while before we start talking about, entertaining another one. Yeah, that's kind of the same feeling.
At any point during your ride, OG, did you scream out, "You did this to me"?
No, I was in good spirits most of the way.
Again.
I felt pretty well trained. I knew what to expect, and I knew it was going to suck. I underestimated the amount of suck in the middle section. That was a profound amount of suck. That was more suck than I'm used to. Way more. But
we had these T-shirts, OG, when I was at the Citadel. They had these illegal contraband T-shirts upperclassmen would sell, and my favorite one said, "The Citadel, a great place to be from, but a horrible place to be." I feel like it's the same with the triple bypass. Like there were times when it was a horrible place to be, but now that it's over, a great place to be from.
There's some grindy spots in there that are a little make you question your sanity for a little bit. But
total elevation gain going over 3 mountains. What's the total elevation gain?
It was just under 11,000 feet.
Was that all? Oh,
yeah.
I thought it was hard, Doug. This was
Let's do it next year, Joe.
It's the down part that's easy.
Well, the rest of this is downhill because we got a great show today. I read a piece on investment news that made me go, wait a minute. I think people are undervaluing the 401k plan. Doug, you even mentioned as we were prepping for today's episode that on our Great Friday roundtable that Roger Whitney participated in. I said, should you always use your 401k? And Doug, he said, no, you should not always use your 401k. And while we may agree with that, I think if you're going to use the 401k, let's use it right.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, the reason he said no was, if for those of you who haven't listened to the episode, go back and listen to this previous Friday's episode because it was a really good one. But it's the always part that he was, Joe gave him a very binary kind of black or white. And of course, most of the answers to that are, well, not always. There's probably some rare circumstances where you don't. But for the vast majority of people, there's some really good stuff in there. And I'm glad to hear that we're going to dive in today.
Yeah, there's some rare circumstances where I might say yes to going up 3 mountains, but generally there's this gray area of no-ish.
There's some edge cases where maybe we don't get on the bike.
Yeah, let's say that I've been on some serious drugs and I'm hallucinating. I might, under those conditions, sign the document to say yes. But
you forget that you have hemorrhoids.
Well, we have on that. How do you transition from hemorrhoids? I don't know. We are going to dive into that in just a moment. We have a couple sponsors who help us keep on keeping on. In the middle of our shows, we try to keep the sponsor spots light. They're obviously something that we need to have if we're going to keep going. So we're going to have a couple now, and then we have a couple as you're trying to figure out Doug's trivia, which, Doug, I know you've got a great one for today on tap. So we're going to hear from them. And really, even before we get into sponsors, I got to tell you what we've been doing in the basement. A big change to something that longtime stackers have heard of called the Vault. Isn't called the Vault anymore. It's the Field Kit. And you can use our Swiss Army knife tool at stackingbenjamins.com/field kit. Go look at all the different things it does. Its job is to help you do things like the triple bypass or eat a donut or whatever you decide to do on a Tuesday.
Is it the version that has the corkscrew on it that helps you open your wine?
Wouldn't that be great too? I think it's the one thing it doesn't do, but it does so many other things
that you always lose.
stackingbenjamins.com/field kit gets you there. Let's hear from our sponsors now, and then we're diving into the 401k. I just got back from a trip out east, and what I love is the days on vacation a little more relaxed, and I find myself reaching into the suitcase for the same comfortable go-anywhere pieces again and again, which is why I keep coming back to Quince. Somebody online recently called our friend Paula Pant and I the Quince Dynamic Duo, and I think that's right because they focus on well-made essentials that naturally become these everyday staples you actually live in all season long. Their tees are soft enough to live in all day. Lightweight cotton sweaters are exactly what you want when summer nights cool down. Everything at Quince is priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. And if you ask me why that is, well, it's because they work directly with ethical factories and cut out the middlemen. So you're paying for exceptional quality, not brand markup. You've heard me talk about my Quince pants. You know what? Absolutely love them. It is true. Like me, make your summer wardrobe easier. Go to quince.com/SB for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns, now available in Canada too. That's QUINCE.com/SB for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/SB. People are finding quality hires on Indeed right now. In the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. Sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed are 95% more likely to report a hire than non-sponsored jobs. But here's what's cool, Stackers. You're going to get $75 in sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support Stacking Benjamins by saying you heard about Indeed right here at Stacking Benjamins.
Hello, darlings. And now it's time for your favorite part of the show, our Stacking Benjamins headlines.
Before the break, I said dive into the 401k, and 457 people, 403B people, this applies to you as well. You know, I was reading this investment news piece just a couple of days ago, OG, and I came across this story that made me realize that we've probably been asking the wrong question about these retirement place plans. Reporter Emil Halez wrote about how workers, you know, they're looking at their compensation and they really want benefits. And if you just have, I'm going to pay you X and I'm going to give you the 401k, people are going, no, I want you to come across with more. And I thought, okay, well, good for them to negotiate for more benefits. However, this idea that I flippantly go, 401k, whatever, everybody's got it. The number of times I've seen people, OG, not use the 401k as well as they can was so frequent when I was an advisor. And I haven't been an advisor for a while, but you see 401ks still all the time. Is there a lot of room for our stackers to improve in how they use their 401k?
I think it just depends on the definition of improve. I mean, I certainly don't see a lot of people who are not investing in their 401k. If I said that correctly, it seems pretty rare, you know, if that's an offering that people are not taking advantage of, unless it's a decision they're doing affirmatively, right? Like right now I'm going to focus on paying off my student loans. And then, you know, we can talk about the reasons why that might be a good idea or bad idea. But I feel like it's pretty rare these days to see somebody who's not doing it. The opportunities to improve it, I think, are in the eye of the beholder. But there are some things, I think, generally speaking, that one could do to make their life easier around their retirement plan.
Yeah, we're going to dive into that because I do want to see if there's ways that any of our stackers, from people just starting out on their journey to people that have been doing this for a long time, might be able to tweak. The big thing, though, is I introduced this initially, OG, as part of the compensation package. And I think this is an aha. You know, people think that there's the 4 food groups and then there's ice cream. And somehow the 401k or the 403b is ice cream. It's this extra thing, right? But if you get a match, it truly is part of your compensation package. And I think one of the first things we need to realize that if the company matches up to 8% and I only put in 4% into my 401k, I just gave myself a pay cut. And I think we need to look at it as a pay cut if we're not taking the match.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the money that the company is contributing on your behalf, you want to take full advantage of. You can think of it as like compensation. I think about it like return on investment. So if you said 8%, there's not a lot of 8% matches out there, but let's say 3. If your company matches the, dollar for dollar in the first 3 or dollar for dollar in the first 3 and 50 cents on the next 3, that's very common, something like that. you're getting 100% return on your investment. If you make $100,000 and you put in $3,000, you get a $3,000 return, right? That's a free $3,000. You look at it as $3,000 of comp. You're saying you don't make 100, you make 103. You got to opt into that other 3,000. I think about it like from an investment standpoint, when people are striving so much for the
7,
latest and greatest thing, right? And it's like, oh, I got to get in this IPO, or I've got to do these complicated option trades because I read about it on Reddit, and like all these things. And it's like, well, I got a free 100% return right here. Do anybody want this one? Or a free 50% return if you get a 50-cent match or 50% match, So if you have the ability to do this would be a fun exercise to do. If you have the ability to take a look at someone's 401k statement who is much more your senior, right? So, mom and dad, right? You're 25, your dad's 60 and about to retire. Go, hey, can I dive into your 401k statement? You'll find a couple of really interesting things. Number one, the balance compared to the contributions. If dad's worked at the same company, mom's worked at the same company a long time. The amount of money that you put in versus the amount of money that it's worth is profoundly different. So that light bulb should go off. The second thing is when you look at the different contribution sources, you'll see dad put in 182,000, the company put in 182,000, and it's worth 1.6 million. And so it's not even just the 360 went in to get to 1.6. It's the fact that 180 went in to get to 1.6 because you get that free other 180,000. And, whether you look at investment return, or you look at his compensation, I think all of us, and, at the end of our working careers, if they said, hey, by the way, you could go back in time and we'll give you a $300,000 pay raise throughout your lifetime.
Yeah.
Would you want to take it? You'd be like, yeah, bro.
Yeah.
Of course I do. Oh, but the catch is it's got to go in your savings account instead. It's like, whatever, I don't care. It's like free money, right? I'll take it.
Right.
I think about the inverse of that, OG, which is, have either of you guys done that? Every once in a while online, this appears. How much money you made over your lifetime versus how much you actually kept.
Isn't that called doing your taxes every year?
I scroll past those as fast as possible.
No, I'm the same way. I've got QuickBooks data on the planning firm since probably 2009 or 10. And you do not want to run a since all time. That is eye-opening and discouraging all at the same time. You're like, what the heck have I been doing?
Well,
even if you're doing it right, it feels bad. Do it on Monarch, right? Just go on Monarch and change the heading from being year to date or last 12 months to all time, and go look at how much money you've made.
If you want to feel bad about yourself, if you want to start a drinking habit, go do that. You know what, by the way, and I didn't mean to imply, if somebody asks you online, how much money have you made your entire career? Do not do that online. Do not do it in the privacy of your Monarch or the Field Kit, wherever.
Social Security's website will do that for you too, as well.
It is interesting because when you think about this, OG, when you talk about, do you want a $300,000 raise? The question of how much money have I kept, which is the true mission to get where you want to go. That 401k match can be a big piece of it, and just putting money away in the 401k. And so not just having it be compensation or 100% free return or 50% free return, the fact that this is helping us build that delta between the amount of money we make and the amount of money that we keep. So let's look at compensation packages. You mentioned a game, OG. Doug, let's play a game to kind of kick this off. I'm going to give you 3 different compensation packages and just tell me, as the everyman on this show, how you evaluate these. All right. So the first one is Company A gives you a $90,000 salary, no match. Company B gives you an $84,000 salary, but an 8% match on the 401k. Company C gives you an $86,000 salary. So between those two, so we got 90, 84, and 8% match, and now an $86,000 salary, but also gives you a pension, makes an HSA contribution on your behalf, and gives you financial planning as part of your compensation package. How do you look at the 3 of those?
Interesting. Well, you didn't specify some of the finances around the pension piece of it, but I immediately discount that because I don't like the idea of pensions as much as I like the idea and some of the flexibility that I can have in my own 401k and how I can manage
that. Is it just that pensions only work if you're there long term? So,
well, and there's all of that, right? There's the mechanics of it. How long do you have to be there before it vests? Whereas even if there's a vestment period in your company match, which is, I think, unusual, you at least have access to all of the stuff you're contributing. And 8% on 84 sounds a lot better than a percent you didn't specify on the pension side of things. HSA is nice. Again, you would have to tell me how much is going into that HSA account for me to make a decision. But with just the information you presented, I like the 8% match on 84 better than the other two options.
What's most interesting to me is how, if you just said we have three jobs, one pays 90, one pays 86, one pays 84, you immediately go for 90. But the fight that you just had was between the 84 and the 86.
Yeah. Well, the 90 was out immediately. Yeah. It's not big enough. And I was going to say this earlier. Don't get me wrong. If you work in a larger corporation, mid-sized to larger corporation, and it's review time, and you've just gone through the brain surgery of having to do your own self-review and point out all the stuff you did all year long that your bosses should have known about anyways, but you had to go through the whole exercise. You do all of that work, and then you sit down and they offer you at best a 2.5% raise. And you think, what am I doing here? Like, I'm not even keeping up with inflation. Don't forget about it's maybe a weak salve to make yourself feel better, but nonetheless, don't forget about the increased compensation package for either HSA that they may be contributing to and or your 401k, because there is more there in your comp than just that 2.5% raise you just got.
I remember when Janice Torres joined us, she talked about the importance of, if the company tells you that they can't give you more money, see if you can negotiate then something on the benefit side, more time off, more benefits, maybe the financial planning piece. OG, I want to turn to you on this for a second. Doug's analysis there, the pension, you're offered one of these unicorns now, one of the few companies out there that might give you a pension, or maybe you're going to look at evaluating a job with the federal government as an example, who gives a pension, versus what you mentioned earlier is a very generous match, 8%, huge match, right? Was he right to look at that as a bigger match on the 401k beats the pension? Or how do you advise people to look at pension versus a nice match?
Well, just out of sheer principle, I tend to disagree with everything Doug says. So just to...
Even when he's right, I'm going to find a wrinkle.
Find something to do that he did wrong. Look, here's the thing with pensions, or the concern with them. Let me back up. A pension is an obligation by an organization to pay you a stream of income for a period of time, right? And so depending on how old you are when you start working will depend on how much money they're putting into that account on your behalf, right? Because if you're 22 years old and they say, well, if you work here for, our retirement plan for you, our pension plan is you're 22, but you can retire after you've worked here for 25 years or reach age 57. Okay. Well, what does that say? If you're 22, you got 25 years to go. How much money do they have to put away for a 22-year-old 25 years from now? Very little, right? It's not a lot of money to do. However, if you retire at 57, they've got to factor in that you're going to live for 30 years, right? So that's a big benefit when you get there. So if you've been working for a while in that system, it compounds to be worth more and more and more money. I had a client years ago that worked at a big company that had a pension, and she was considering transitioning to a new company with profoundly higher comp, but no pension. So same 401k match, that was a wash. And the question basically was, I've got 10 years left in my working career. If I work at company A, where I am right now, I know, here's what my comp will likely be, and here's the contributions to my pension. Here's what I can forecast, because you can go online and type that stuff in the system, right? What do you think my pension will be at 55 when I retire if I keep working here? And it will give you some calculation. So you could figure out what that was.
And by the way, as an aside, if that's on a pension, that's going to be a much more reliable number than some of these calculators that say, my 401k. It's going to be much more difficult to project where your 401k is going to be.
Sure. I think long term, if you're using reasonable estimations for contributions and growth rate, you're going to be fine there too. But The question was basically, and she asked the right question, how much more does my pay have to be at the new place to offset the fact that my pay was lower, but I got 10 years of this huge contributions that's going into my pension in the last 10 years to kind of top me up basically, and to offset the fact that, my pension now is going to be flat because she still was eligible for it, just wasn't eligible, it wasn't going to grow anymore, and whatever the restrictions were because she didn't work there. So it was an interesting calculation, but the comp difference, I don't remember it off the top of my head, but I think it was like she was making 150, but to go to the new company had to be 225. It was a profound difference. And that net after tax difference between the 225 and the 150, that was her savings amount. You have to put this away to offset the fact that you're not getting 10 more years of contract. You got to do your own pension, basically, is what we were trying to calculate at that point. It's not cut and dry of like job A, job B. It really does matter, I think, where you fall, in your working career and what you're leaving on the table from one place to another. If you're just starting out or something like that, it's going to be different. But big, broad brushstroke. I like the idea of being a little bit more in control of it. But these days, most pensions do have a cash out option. They're just not going to be, they're not going to look really good until you get to retirement, because the companies are okay saving the money. They also don't want to be in charge of your longevity. So a lot of times they'll say, hey, we'll
please
we'll
take
make a deal with you. Why don't we just give you $2 million and you just do your own stuff from there, instead of us paying you, $6,000 a month from now on.
There were a lot of words there, and I got dizzy in the middle, but I think it all boiled down to Doug was right.
Okay. As long as you feel that way, that's the most important thing out of all of this.
It sure is.
As long as he feels good about it.
Doug associates with being correctly correct.
Correctly correct.
Guess what happened to me today, Mom? I was correct. I tried to think about 5 ways to turn a 401k into a de facto raise. And I think this is a very simple checklist for beginning the 401k. And I wanted to run this by you, OG, to see what you think of these 5 things. So number 1, we already covered, don't miss the match. Like if you're going to use the 401k, that match is a part of your compensation. So, and to your point, it's a free return. So take the match whenever possible. There might be times like you mentioned earlier, and Roger mentioned on Friday, when you void that on purpose because you have, quote, bigger fish to fry, like Mom says, but take the match.
I don't know that I would ever think it would be a good idea to avoid the match.
Number 2 on the list, I love these plans that have the auto increase. And if you have an auto increase that's available, use that auto increase every year. Even though this isn't a, quote, raise, it's going to automatically, OG, make sure that you keep more, right? So even if you have to begin smaller than you thought, man, if I can use these auto increases every year to just notch it up a little bit, I love this idea of auto escalating my plan.
Yeah, it's a great way to get from where you are to maxing it out over a period of time. A lot of times people look at that maximum number and say, $24,000? Like, I can't save $24,000 in a year. Like, that's ridiculous. It's like, well, probably not day one. But if you increase it by 1% or 2% every 6 months, I bet you won't miss it. Especially if you get a regular review cadence where you're getting a pay increase of, even if it's something, nominal, like you mentioned, 2.5%. You're taking a portion of that pay raise every year and saying, I'm going to live on some of this increase and I'm going to save some of this increase automatically. It's a great way to do it.
It's so cool. Number 3 on the list. You and I roll our eyes when we see these over optimizers talk about what's better, the Roth or the traditional. Like, it isn't about which one is better, but more about when each one shines. So I think just backing off from which one's better, I think number 3, though, is understanding the difference between the Roth and the traditional, because I feel like once you just get your arms around, OG, how these 2 different plans work, it's going to be fairly, I don't want to say easy, but easier to figure out which one's probably going to work better for you in your situation.
Well, I'll do one even simpler. Just alternate it year to year. I mean, the goal is to arrive at retirement with flexibility, because we can guess all day long. I've got a fairly decent educated guess on what I think tax rates are going to do in the future, but I also am not an elected official, and I'm also not ever going to be one. And who knows what's going to happen, right? There's a lot that can happen between now and when I start taking money out of my account. What I want to do is I want to be in the position where I have money in each one of those buckets, the pre-tax bucket, which is the regular IRA bucket, the tax-free bucket, which is the Roth, and the after-tax bucket, which is your traditional brokerage account. So I get to choose how I pay taxes in the future. And if they say, well, tax rates are this, I can say, oh, well, I'm going to zhuzh it, as they say, so that I get my income the way that I want. Tax rates are Y, then I can do it a little differently. And I can take advantage of the flexibility. There's some reasons to maybe skew one way or the other, depending on your income taxes or your tax bracket, or, we got kids in college and it makes more sense to put money in the pre-tax because it doesn't count against your income. So there's things that'll skew your opinion on this one way or the other year to year. But just like any planning, it's okay to set it and forget it, right? You're 90% of the way there. If you click max out 401k at 22, put in market, do not touch for 50 years, you're going to be fine. But if you're going to make some changes, evaluate that annually. Say, what's coming up in this calendar year that I need to be aware of? What's coming up in the next couple of years that I need to be aware of in terms of our tax strategy? And then adjust from there.
I just want to clarify something. We've talked often about the max contribution of 24,000 roughly in 2026. I think it's 24.5 or something. But that's only the employee's contribution, right? You can have a lot more go into your 401k depending on how much your employer is going to contribute and whether you're at an age where you can do the one-time catch up. But it's like 75 or 80 grand or something actual max for the year. It just 24.5 is the employee's contribution. Is that correct, OG?
Yes, not including the amount of money that is for old people like you guys that you can put in because you're significantly older. Because significantly older people can always, because they're old and infirm and they just need like a little extra help, basically, like you guys, then yeah, you can do a little bit more.
Some of us take triple bypass literally.
But I guess I brought that up to say it also just confirms why you
don't have to worry about the math, basically.
Yeah, but do not give up on that max because on the match because the match is over and above what your contributions are.
Oh,
so
I see
it
what
really
you mean.
has a major impact.
Yeah, if you can shovel in the whole 24.5, do it, and the match is just on top, the compensation. Yeah.
Thanks, Doug. Yeah, right. You're right.
I think number 4 on this, and kind of the Roth versus traditional gets into this. 15 years ago, significantly fewer companies offered the Roth 401k option. Now they do. Now you can get student loan match. Some give you the ability to do mega backdoor Roth stuff. It's funny. There's another investment news account that talks about how these financial wellness programs at work, OG, have recently been proven to increase people's expected returns on their paycheck and on their investments because they just went to these lunch and learns at work. And yet the number of people that go to these things remains incredibly low. Like we know that it works. We know that it helps us get excited. It helps us stay the course. And yet we don't do it. But I also think that knowing the full roster of every benefit HR has and then melding the 401k into that will give you a raise. So this isn't just 401k by itself. This is how am I using the 401k along with the litany of things that the workplace offers.
Yeah, put it all together. It's an entire compensation package, even so much as the amount of money that gets put in on your behalf into Social Security as part of your compensation package. It's not just the cash. It's all the other things as well.
And I think I have 4 on there that are things to do. I think the 5th one's easy because it's what you don't do. And this is the one that drove me crazy, OG, when I was an advisor. The number of people would say, well, I buy my company stock. And I know that quarter by quarter how we do. I remember one guy that worked for Home Depot, and he's like, I know Home Depot, the heartbeat. And so I'll load up on Home Depot in the 401k, and then I will unload it in this month. And then I'll load up again, and then I'll unload it. You know what? Pick your plan and stick with it. Stay away from the individual stock. I think truly there's a percentage of your success in giving yourself a raise, OG, that is just not messing it up, not treating it like it's a short-term thing, like invest like this money's going to be there forever and you're going to be much better off.
Yeah. I mean, this is something you should evaluate at open enrollment time. This is something you should evaluate at comp discussion time, annual review, whatever, bonus time. Commit to a plan, stick to it for a period of time, and then reevaluate. This is why planning is super important, and not just going, well, there's two extremes, right? The one extreme is I'm never going to look at it ever again. And then the other extreme is I'm going to look at it every single day. Probably both of those are wrong. Pick a different cadence.
I love the idea of the once a year investment policy statement that we've talked about in the past, and that you talk about. Maybe there's a once a year meeting with your planner, right? You're meeting with your financial planner, and take a look at that, or have your family once a year meeting, whatever it's going to be. Pick one date ahead of time, get it done then. I like ending on this idea of mistakes. After Doug's trivia question, I want to go into some of the worst 401k mistakes that I found and run those by you guys. But first, at the halfway break, we take a breather because, Doug, you've got maybe some water cooler ammunition for our stackers to impress all their friends.
Sure do, Joe. Hey there, stackers. I'm Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug. Today, we're talking about building wealth at work, and what a coincidence, because on this day in 1969, two regular old Joe lunch pail types headed off to work to punch the clock just like the rest of us. Yes, Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong had what might be the world's longest commute that day. They traveled about 240,000 miles, and somehow neither of them complained about gas prices.
Or traffic.
Yeah, or traffic. Damn it, that other rocket broke down again. So here's today's trivia question. What was the name of the lunar module that landed on the moon? I'll give you a hint. It's a word in the phrase Joe's mom uses when she's passing out after a pretty rowdy night of poker. Speaking of poker, I'll be right back after I go ask Joe's mom for my allowance. I've been washing windows all weekend, and it's time for her to pay up.
It's summer, and you know what that means. Everything feels just a little more relaxed, a little easier. I find myself reaching for the same comfortable go anywhere pieces again and again. And that's why I come back to Quince. Quince's 100% European linen pants and shirts are breathable, easy to throw on, and the summer upgrade your rotation needs starting at just $34. Everything at Quince is priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. They work directly with ethical factories and cut out the middlemen, so you're paying for exceptional quality, not brand markup. I was super excited to see the number of Quince users in our Facebook group, The Basement. First, it makes me feel good when I give you a great referral. And then second, I feel even better when you take it and you report back just how well it worked out. Stacker Ken purchased, like me, some badass pants. Andy gives thumbs up to Quince, says whoever's behind the buying for that outfit, they're good. Still haven't bought caviar from Quince yet, but if they brand it Neighbor Doug caviar, I'm totally buying a bunch. And Stacker Nick, third thumbs up here. We bought a super comfortable set of linen sheets and a duvet from them last year. They developed a hole, probably due to our dogs, and Quince replaced them free of cost and super quick. Fantastic customer service. This, Stackers, is exactly what I love to hear when I make a recommendation, and that is that you have the same amazing experience that I'm having. And as you heard, it's not just clothing. Quince has become a trusted favorite for everything from home to travel to everyday essentials. So make your summer wardrobe easier. Go to quince.com/SB for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too. That's QUINCE.com/SB for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/SB. Well, as you know, there isn't any room for guesswork in business. Every shipment you send out matters. Every deadline counts. When you're trying to keep operations going as smoothly as you can, the last thing you need is uncertainty. And that's why reliability is at the core of USPS Ground Advantage. For the moment your package gets first scanned in, it moves through a secure nationwide network, adding in a timely and accurate delivery. You get near real-time tracking so you can keep up with your shipments, and with affordable upfront pricing, there's zero hidden fees or surprise surcharges to throw off your cost sheets. It all adds up to predictable deliveries you can depend on, because knowing your logistics are handled lets you focus on everything else, your customers, your team, and the future you're building. Visit USPS.com/Ground Advantage to start shipping with confidence. USPS Ground Advantage, we mean business. You already know it, stackers. Once you've learned to pay off your credit cards every single month, at that point, then you can go from a cash lifestyle to some of the great point programs out there, but don't do it before. Make sure you pay off your cards in full. And when you do, you may have heard about Built as a loyalty program that lets you earn points on rent wherever you live. Well, guess what? They just leveled up even more. As of 2026, homeowners can also earn up to 1.25 times points on their mortgage payments. This is thanks to Built's new 3 credit cards, the Palladium card, Obsidian card, and Blue card. All 3 turn your housing payments, rent, or mortgage into flexible rewards, so you can choose the card that fits your lifestyle without missing out on points and exclusive benefits. Built points can be redeemed at top airlines and hotels, Amazon.com purchases, future rent payments, and more. Built points have also been ranked by top publications as the industry's most valuable point currency. Your housing payment's already your biggest expense. Make it your most rewarding. Find the card that fits your lifestyle and apply today at joinbuilt.com/SB. That's JOINBILT.com/SB. Make sure to use our URL so they know we sent you. Terms and conditions apply. Subject to approval and eligibility, Built cards are issued by Column NA, member FDIC, pursuant to license from MasterCard International Incorporated.
Hey there, stackers. I'm resident bill collector and guy who's going to have to try again to get paid tomorrow, Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug. Today's the anniversary of the day when man first landed on the moon. You know, I mean, if you believe that sort of thing. I'm not saying I don't. I'm just saying that these lines they used for the iconic moment sure seemed a little like a Hollywood script. In fact, today's question was, what was the name of the lunar module that landed on the moon? When they landed, the crew radioed, "Houston, the Eagle has landed," which is quite a coincidence because that's also what Mom calls me every time I successfully parallel park. Actually, she's never called me Eagle, but I know she thinks it. And now, 2 guys thinking about helping you accumulate more in your retirement plans, Joe and OG.
You know, I mentioned the Citadel earlier. My roommate at the Citadel, one time I came home on a Friday night and he is passed out. I had the lower bunk. He's passed out on the lower bunk, and he wrote a note before he passed out and put it right next to the wild turkey that he had apparently been drinking. And it said, "Joe, the Eagle has landed." And he just landed in. I don't know how he had the force of will to be able to write out the note that the Eagle had landed. But anyway, we ended up switching bunks that night because I don't think the Eagle was going to make it another.
Did he leave you any presents in your bunk?
No, luckily, no. It's a pretty good roommate. All right, let's get back to our topic, which is 401k. And, you know, a lot of this game, OG, as you know, it's not trying to do the perfect thing, which I think a lot of our money nerds are always trying to do. It's about not making unforced errors. And I want to talk about a few of these. I think one of the biggest ones is, and man, how many times have we seen this? Cashing out after you change jobs. I've got this 401k. It's only got $9,000 or $10,000 in it. You know what? I got some credit card debt. I'm just going to go ahead and, instead of roll that over or leave it alone, I'm going to go ahead and pay off that debt.
You're asking whether or not this is a good idea. Of course, it's a terrible idea. I think it helps to do the calculation of what that's worth in doubles because it puts a little bit more weight on it. I also understand this from a here and now standpoint because honestly, we did this. Like there was a time where when my wife left her job where it was, I don't remember the dollar amount, but it was like, this is a blessing because now we can knock out that credit card debt or student loan or whatever we used it for. Sitting on this side of the table 30 years later, I recognize I should have just suffered more in the moment, you know, but I also understand that people don't generally make bad decisions in the moment that they think they're making bad decisions on. It's only in retrospect do you go, yeah, I probably should have figured out a way to do that a little differently. So I understand why it comes up. I understand why people choose to do it. I wish people wouldn't, because I think it benefits them long term not to, and just, suffer more in the moment and, get that debt paid off or do what you got to do. But if you can avoid that, you're going to be in much better shape. I would also add to this one, Joe, and I don't know if you're going to get to this, pardon me if you do, but if you're going to move it, if you're going to say, hey, I changed jobs from one company to another, and I want to take it from that plan and put it in my IRA, or I take it from that plan and put it in my new company plan, you have to invest it when you get it there. There's a profound number of times where, and research has shown this, I don't remember, did we do a story on this some years ago about the percent of rollover 401k money that sits in cash
Just
for a
sitting
year?
in cash.
It's like 30 or 40% because people
It's
think
a monster number.
I rolled it over, I'm done. I did the paperwork, my job is done. Now Fidelity handles it from there or whatever. You still have to trade it. So you're not done when you move it. You got to invest it.
The next one on my list is, we talked about the sometimes set it and forget it feels like the right thing to do. You mentioned that there's maybe this intermediate cadence. I like once a year looking at it, but this idea of never increasing contributions. I've seen so many people who go 10 years. They're like, oh, I didn't really think about that. I just thought, oh yeah, I'm saving in my 401k. I've been saving.
I do 3%.
Yeah. I've been doing 3% for the past 10 years. I never raised it. Never increasing contributions. Big, big mistake.
I mean, unless you're already at the max.
I see financial institutions all the time talking about ignoring the fees in your 401k. And I've seen people go, listen, I'm not going to use my 401k because it feels like a high fee plan. I don't know about you, OG, but when I look at the simplicity of investing through work, and B, the either pre-tax nature or automatic Roth nature of the plan, and to Doug's point earlier too, the enormous amount of money I can put in there if I want to, I think being overly obsessive about the fees in my 401k and using it as some sort of an excuse not to save, I see as a bigger problem than not paying attention to what the fees are.
I think it's helpful to do a little bit of dialogue around what we're talking about here. So when you have a workplace retirement plan, there's a lot of record keeping requirements that have to go into that. It's not just simply like a regular brokerage account where you put money in, you can trade investments and whatever. There's a lot of Department of Labor rules specifically around retirement plans, specifically designed for employees so that they don't get screwed by their employers. And so all of those calculations have to be done on an annual basis and file, and reports filed every year. And like every industry in America, these are consolidating and being bought up by a lot of private equity firms, or at least getting pieces of them in private equity firms. And what's the first thing that happens when PE gets involved? They go, well, I got an easy way to make money. We'll just charge 30% more. Come at me, bro. What do you want to do? There's 6 providers in the country, and we own 3 of them. So what do you want to do? So there is a lot of cost associated on the back end of running these things. When you're involved in a small, and the costs, I mean, they scale, right? But there's a minimum cost, right? Like if you say, I'm Joe Q Public, I want to start a company and I'm going to start a 401k for my few employees, there's a startup cost associated with that and an ongoing maintenance cost that's a base level. So there's 2 ways you can pay for that. The one way is the employer pays it. There's like literally write a check and say, how much is it? Okay, it's $11,000. Stroke you a check. Here you go. The other way to do it, which is what gets pitched by the salespeople of 401ks, is they say, you know what, just roll all these costs into the plan. We'll just make these investment funds just a skosh more expensive. Or we'll make, we'll have a participation fee of $5 a month. Or we'll have, they can spread it
Fee
around
spaghetti.
depending on, just however because the guy who's running the 401k gets paid. You could disagree with the amount that they get paid. That's fine. But the reality is like those calculations have to get done. I'm staring at one right now for our profit sharing for our plan right here. Like it's a pretty complicated formula to make sure that the employees don't get screwed by OG. I mean, it's basically like, what do I want to do with my 401k? I want it to benefit me. And they're like, it can benefit you, but it also has to benefit them in this formula that we think is a fair way to calculate this and based on comp and so on and so forth. So somebody has to figure that out and sign off on it. The bigger the plan gets, the more the incremental fees decline, right? So it's like it gets smaller on a percentage basis. So if you work for Ford Motor Company, you don't really notice any fees in your plan because the little teeny tiny fee that they get on the investment stuff times the fact that it's got $8 billion in the 401k, the companies are like, we're good, right? But if it's a startup plan or it's a new company, so your job as an employee, if you are tuned into this, is to say, how can I help, make this an easier process for our team, right? Like if you look and you say, well, I noticed, for example, that this is packed with actively traded mutual funds, and I think we could save some costs if we went to ETFs. Go to the board and present that. Like save the areas that you can save, because the reality is that at the end of the day, if you say, well, I'm going to, I'll show you, I'm just not going to save money in my 401k. Company ain't getting screwed, bro. You are.
No, yeah, that's the part that always makes my head hurt.
The guy who runs the company, he's still going to retire rich. Like he got it, right? It's you that's not going to have the $1 million in your 401k. So if you have a voice, or you have some knowledge around this, or you can see, you can just say, hey, can I dig into this a little bit? Like, don't present it as a problem, present the solution, because at the end of the day, all of these little things that are part of your benefit plan are to benefit you. They were sold to the owner or to the HR people by a group of people who sell this stuff for a living. And they went, yeah, I mean, gym membership sounds great. Let's put it in there, right? But if you're like, no, I don't want a gym membership, man, take that out. Like we all talk. We don't go to the gym. We don't need that. It's not convenient for us. Take that out and take that $50 and add it to this instead. Do that as a collection or a collectivism type of solution versus sticking your head in the sand and going, I'll show you,
It's always so frustrating to see.
There's a lot of ways. And honestly, I bet that 95% of small business owners, because, that's who we're talking about here. I bet 95% of small business owners have no idea how this stuff is charged or paid for or whatever. And the guy who sold the plan just wants to keep the plan. So if you go back to him and go, hey, we've been looking, we might switch this to a new company because you guys charge us for this and this other company's not going to charge. Then you go, let me sharpen the pencil here a little bit. Oh, well, you know what? Now that you bring that, we could probably get rid of that little thing right there. You know what I mean? It's easier to keep a client than it is to get a new
version of this plan that costs less.
I mean, I had this story one time. You brought it up, so you get story hour with OG. But I had a client that
wait a minute, hold on, hey, Steve, we need OG story hour music. Ladies and gentlemen, story hour with OG.
Yes. So I had a client that had a retirement plan that was awful and full fees and all that sort of stuff. Go put together a proposal. We got a better plan. And the existing plan guy basically got our plan and was like, yeah, we can match all that. And so they didn't switch. They're like, well, we don't have to do anything different. We got your pricing with this guy's plan. Like, it's a great deal. And honestly, I'm happy with that. Like, obviously I would have preferred them to have us manage it, right? But the next best thing was it saved money for the group. So sometimes even just the threat of doing that will magically produce some fee credits along the way. Like, as a matter of fact, you guys did just cross that new break point of $52,811. So we can go ahead and waive that 25 basis point fee. That would have happened automatically next quarter anyway, of course. But we'll pull it forward right now because it's just easier to service an existing account than it is to get a new one, right? So just
push back. Negotiate, push back
a little bit, right? And recognize that not everybody's out to screw you.
Sure.
And you not putting money in your 401k does not affect the owner of the company or John Hancock.
The worst way to handle that.
Those guys are still going to be rich AF.
So frustrating. I've got a couple more on here. I mean, there's a couple obvious ones.
Rapid fire. Let's do it. Sorry. I know you want to go.
Two of these I'm not even going to ask for comment on. Don't put 100% in your company stock. You said this one time, OG. You're like, imagine if they just gave this to you as cash. Is the first thing you'd say to yourself is, you know what? Let's put this all in the company I work for. Like you
Probably not.
You would not do that. There are other places to borrow from. Don't borrow from your future to pay for a vacation. Here's a big one though. Never naming a beneficiary. This happens all the time, OG. Or not only do they not name a beneficiary, they forget to change it after a big life event. And the big one is divorce. They forget to change it. Don't forget to change the beneficiary.
I would say to not only not forget to change it, I would also add to that and review it on an annual basis.
Part of that meeting.
Because guess what? It'll come as a shock to you, but computer systems fail. Companies lose documents. They friggin' enter it in the wrong thing.
Speaking of that annual meeting, the last one on my list is don't forget the old 401k. The number of times you and I have come across orphan 401ks that are invested completely randomly the wrong way or sitting in cash. Those should be rolled over to your master IRA, whatever it might be, and get it done right away.
The last thing you just said, Joe, about sitting in cash made me think of a slight nuance on when you guys earlier were talking about rollovers from previous. I know a lot of young people who feel like they elected for the 401k when they started their job and didn't realize they had to then pick funds for those to go into. So yeah, they see the deduction coming out of their pay stub. They see the deduction going into their 401k, but didn't realize it's just sitting in cash.
I love the honesty some of our financial influencer friends have had around this topic, Doug. It's kind of brave to say somebody that has a fairly large following and people see them as an expert to go, yeah, I messed this up myself. Like I totally messed this up.
Hold on. Let me be clear. I didn't mess this up.
Oh,
no, this wasn't me.
Right.
I know people who have.
You know a friend. You've a friend.
Yes.
Yes.
People tell me things.
Asking for a friend. So I think a lot of people, in wrapping this up, I think a lot of people hear the word 401k, 403b, 457, whatever plan you have, and they think retirement, but maybe that's why they don't get excited, because I think we should think about it this way. The 401k isn't something your 65-year-old self gets. It's really, truly, in a lot of ways, part of today's paycheck. It's money your employer's willing to spend on you, whether it's them covering part of the plan, OG, whether it's them giving you match, whether it's them even just making it available. It is money they're spending on you. The people get most out of their careers aren't always the ones with the biggest salaries. They're the people who understand that you have this entire compensation package. So this week, I've got some homework for you, stackers. Take 10 minutes, log into your retirement plan, read the benefits page, ask HR one question, because the biggest raise that you get might not come from your boss. It might come from you. That brings us to the final segment of the show, the back porch. Doug, what's going on in the SB community?
Well, a couple of things that I want to point out. It's been a while. We were remiss in not mentioning this before, but Stacker Ashley posted a picture in the basement of her adorable infant in a Stacking Benjamins onesie. I saw that. I'm like, I love this. One of my favorite things. I love to see just Stacking Benjamin swag anywhere out on the internet, but like go cool places, take your t-shirt with you, take a picture of you in your shirt on the Great Wall of China, or your brand new Stacker human that you made in a cool Stacking Benjamins onesie. That's amazing. And I was super excited to see it. And then I noticed that Ashley pointed out it was a hand-me-down from her first stacker that she created. Yeah, that's great, Ashley. Awesome. Really happy that you've discovered frugality and didn't want to buy another onesie.
Yeah.
And I'm sure your second human that you made won't mind that their shirt already smells like old barf from their older sibling.
They should. Those middle kids got to get used to it. The younger siblings.
Can you tell? That's where my tone of voice is coming from. I was
the
youngest of three. All my clothes smell.
Who knew? Who had an idea? It's weird. He hasn't lived with them forever, and his clothes still smell.
No, those scars. That scar tissue is thick.
Runs
for
deep.
Sure.
Stacker Mallory, by the way, did not post it to the basement, but she did send me a thank you of all the work that you guys do and the show, and also showed off the newest stacker that she and her husband made, and in their onesie as well. So the Stacking Benjamins onesie at the Stacker Supply Store.
I love how we're talking about these babies like they're like craft projects that people do on the weekends. Well, probably part of it on the weekend, but
it might be on the weekends.
Yeah. Could be. Joe, we've also got some meetups going on. I know there's one coming up maybe on this coming Wednesday in Mankato, Minnesota, the Southern Minnesota group meeting July 22nd at 6:30, where they always meet at the Maverick Innovation Gateway. That's pretty cool. The Maverick Innovation Gateway. So if you're in the area, go hang out with that group. They're huge. That group is getting strong and awesomer by the day. Are there any other groups around that I don't know about that are having meetups?
I think the best thing you can do after listening to an episode of your favorite podcast is to put it in motion. And the best way to put it in motion is to surround yourself with other stackers. And so we have these Benjamin's After Dark groups around the country. We have them in Boston, in Mankato, as you mentioned, in the Twin Cities, Minneapolis, St. Paul, in Seattle, and in Tucson. The first thing to do is to join the online meetup group. Our leaders post there. There are other cities working on groups. I've been doing a lot of traveling, so we've kind of hit the pause button for now. But listen, just go find a group of people locally, whether it's our Benjamin's After Dark group or another. Get an accountability buddy. And, the stuff we talk about with the 401k, it's easy to put it off. And as you know, Doug, you've been to conferences. OG, you've been to conferences. You take a lot of notes. You got a bunch of great ideas. 6 months go by and you come across those notes and you're like, I've done nothing. I thought about it.
God.
It was great. Oh my goodness. I've had 6 months and I've done nothing. So for our groups, it's stackingbenjamins.com/bad. That's stackingbenjamins.com/bad to find out our groups and to go join their individual groups. So hope you come out and find some fellow stackers to hang out with wherever you might be. That's going to do it for today. Hey, if you know somebody who's misusing the 401k, not using it right, or has said, I'm going to show them I'm not going to use my 401k, maybe send them this episode. That would be a great thing, because hopefully we can help other people get the gift of giving themselves a raise, which is a great way to not just, I don't like the term financial literacy that much. It's just so boring. But what's not boring is, hey, to OG's point, you got $300,000 more. That's pretty kick-ass. What else is kick-ass is that Doug always gives us the top 3 things we should have learned. So, Doug, what are they, man?
Well, Joe, first, take some advice from Joe and OG. Use your company match to increase your savings faster, and don't forget features like automatic increases to help you inch your savings up slowly over time. Pause this and verify you're doing both of those right now. You won't regret it. Second, okay, you're back? Great. Here's another one. When you're negotiating your next job, don't forget to consider things like your 401k match and company HSA contributions to evaluate how well you're being paid. It's not just about the salary anymore. But the big lesson? Don't tell Joe's mom that the eagle has landed. She'll tell you that the eagle lands when she says it lands. So who knows when that'll happen? She's persnickety. This show is the property of SB Podcast, LLC, copyright 2026, and is created by Joe Saul-Sehy. You'll find out about our awesome team at stackingbenjamins.com, along with the show notes and how you can find us on YouTube and all the usual social media spots. Come say hello. And oh yeah, before I go, not only should you not take advice from these nerds, don't take advice from people you don't know. This show is for entertainment purposes only. Before making any financial decisions, speak with a real financial advisor. I'm Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug, and we'll see you next time back here at the Stacking Benjamin Show.
In business, there is no room for guesswork. Every shipment matters. Every deadline counts. And when you're trying to keep operations running smoothly, The last thing you need is uncertainty. That's why reliability is at the core of USPS Ground Advantage. From the moment your package is first scanned in, it moves through a secure nationwide network, aiding in a timely and accurate delivery. You get near real-time tracking so you can keep up with your shipments. And with affordable upfront pricing, there are no hidden fees or surprise surcharges to throw off your cost sheets. It all adds up to predictable deliveries you can depend on, because knowing your logistics are handled lets you focus on everything else, your customers, your team, and the future you're building. Visit USPS.com/Ground Advantage to start shipping with confidence. USPS Ground Advantage. We mean business. I love challenging our stackers to do hard things. And I love, OG, just the story of this triple bypass. It's funny, when you first told us about it, you kind of downplayed it. You go, yeah, I'm doing this bike ride thing. And then in March, I went to an event in Florida where I was speaking, and there were a bunch of stackers there. And one great, really cool stacker, actually also a pilot, OG, and has had a long career in aviation, just shared some really cool airplane stories for another day. But he did the triple bypass. And as he was telling me in much more detail about what he did and what you were about to attempt, I went, holy crap. So let's start here. You said there's 11,000 feet of elevation gain. You're going up 3 mountain passes, but what time did you start?
So it's a rolling start. You can start anytime from roughly 5 in the morning until about 8. I think they closed the starting line at 8 o'clock.
And this is in Colorado.
Yeah, it goes from Evergreen, Colorado, which is, I guess, just a little west of Golden. So you're starting up I-70, basically, just kind of off of I-70. They've done it both ways before. They've done it from Avon back to Evergreen, and this way was Evergreen to Avon. Maybe that's how it's been recently. But yeah, it's a great event. There's probably 3,000 or 4,000 people that do it. They have the triple, which is the 3 mountain passes, and then they have a double bypass also, which is you start a little bit further down. Yeah, so I started right away, right about 5 o'clock in the morning, just a little bit after.
Was it dark? It was dark.
Yes, it was dark. Yeah, you go up, you start around 7,800 feet elevation. The first climb goes to just over 11,000. There's a little bit of a rest area, and then you're all downhill from there into a small town along I-70 called Idaho Springs. And then you go from Idaho Springs to Loveland Ski Area, which is, as the crow flies, probably, I don't know, 15 miles, Doug? You're pretty familiar with that area, 20 miles, something like that.
You can't do it as the crow flies, but yeah, you're probably not too far off.
Yeah, you would run into a mountain. You'd have to be a very high crow.
Right.
But basically, the path follows roughly I-70 up the road to where the Eisenhower Tunnel is. I mean, Loveland Ski Area is not but, I don't know, a half a mile, maybe a mile from where the tunnel starts. Would you say,
it's
Doug?
literally on top of the tunnel.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It seems really close. I know when you come out the other direction,
close.
You can see it. So that's roughly about 20 miles up there. And then you go over Loveland Pass, which is Highway 6. And probably a lot of stackers have driven that before. It's a pretty popular scenic drive up to the pass. So you can either go through Eisenhower Tunnel, bore through the mountain, or you can go up and over, kind of end up ostensibly in the same area.
And up and over, I'm watching the Tour de France as we speak, peeling it off. I'm a little bit behind, but so you're going up a series of switchbacks.
Yeah, in that section it is. There's 4 of them. It goes, you go from the ski area to the top, which is probably about 1,500 feet of gain in 3.5 miles. To kind of put this in perspective, by the way, so it took me 11 and a half hours of riding to do this, which is not particularly fast. My goal was not to be fast. It was to finish. The person who finished the fastest did it in 6.5 hours. Also, by the way, he was 52.
Wow.
So I still got a chance. When I'm old like you guys, I might be able to do it. But just for giggles, I put that into Claude and I was like, hey, like, you know what? I'm watching the Tour de France. Like, what are we doing? Like, what did we do? What are they doing? And they're like, yeah, they roughly do a triple bypass every day.
Right.
Some days a little bit more than others, depending on.
I was watching yesterday and I saw they had 10,500 feet of elevation gain. And I was like, oh my God, just on a normal day 4 of the tour.
Yeah, they do that. Certainly not every day because they spread it out, as you know. Some days are more sprint days than climbing days, but the miles are about the same. And so I said, the person who finished first did it in 6.5 hours, right? Like, what would Tadej Pogacar do it in? And they're like, the ChatGPT is like, 4.5, 5 hours, maybe. Like, he would be a little bit faster on the downhill, like a little bit, as in I was going 40, he might go 60, right? Like whatever. On the uphill, I was going 6, he would go 26.
Unbelievable.
It's like not even close. But anyways, it was a great event. It was very tiring. If I ever do it again, I learned a bunch about what I would do differently, like where I would try harder, where I would try less hard, that sort of thing. I talked to a bunch of people on the drive home, just kind of recanting this a little bit and recounting this a little bit. Recanting would be a different thing.
That would be if you weren't going to do it again.
Recounting it. When I finished, my wife was like, she said she was thinking, I wonder how Josh is going to, like, what's his demeanor when he comes around the corner? Is he just be like, oh my God, I just want to die, or like what? And I was in great spirit. Obviously I was tired, but great spirits. Never thought about stopping along the way. Just embrace the suck.
Just do it. Yeah.
But it was a good event. I finished with something in the tank, which I suppose is a little bit better than finishing with nothing in the tank. Although it makes you wonder,
there were latrines like at the end, right? So you could take care of that.
I could take care of the tank. Yeah. I did. It makes you wonder, like, where could I have gone a little bit faster? And Joe, I know you know this from like running marathons and stuff like that. Like, there's the balance, right? Of like finish and you go, wow, I finished really strong. I feel really good. And then you go, but I guess I could have gone faster. Like, where would I have done that? So that's a fun game to play.
Well, the game I want to ask you about is this one. When I watch the tour and I see these guys mile after mile. I love how you're
comparing me to the Tour de France guys, by the way. This is really great for my ego.
Wow.
Well, you do. I mean, you've had one day of it. I've never had any of this. And I think about, like, what are the things you think about when you're running a marathon? I've done a lot of that. But these guys, you're, like you said, 11 and a half hours. These tour guys on a daily basis are out there for hours and hours and hours. And you're pedaling uphill. Your legs are burning, right? And I'm just wondering about minute by minute by minute by minute by minute, what's going through your mind? Like, how do you keep yourself on task versus what I would do? Because I know even running a marathon, I have to continually recheck my brain, which is going, you could pull over right here. Nobody would care if you just pulled over right here. Mm-hmm. And you go, nope, can't do that. But you try to keep your mind occupied. How do you occupy your mind going up these 3 mountains?
Well, the first one was fine. There was nothing, there's a lot of people around and,
Derek,
whatever.
The stacker that I was talking to, said the first mountain for him, he thought was the hardest mountain.
No, not even close. No, the first one was fine, but it depends on which way he did it. Going from Vail backward would be probably worse.
Yeah, I don't know which way he did.
The first one was fine. The third one was fine because I stayed in Frisco for 2 weeks. So I had done mile 70 to mile 95 like 3 times. I had ridden that route a bunch. And so I was very familiar with it. I was familiar with what to expect. And there is obviously the psychological piece, as you know, Joe, when you're like on the final little bit and you're like, I have 3 miles to go.
But
like,
you're horse to the barn.
I can do anything, and you can see it or you can hear the music or you're like, whatever, I can do anything for the next, 30 minutes. The hardest part was decidedly mile 43 to 60, which is coming up to Loveland and then going over Loveland Pass. I never had the mind, the like, this is stupid, I shouldn't be doing it. Like, I never thought that. I did, however, in the Loveland section, it's 4 switchbacks. And in my mind, each one was a mile. In reality, and I got real surgical about this, it's about 4,500 feet of linear feet traveled. So in my mind, I was like, okay, each pedal stroke, like how many feet am I making? Like how many times do I have to pedal? That's what I do, is I do the math piece. So I did the first segment and then turned the corner, and I was like, okay, I'm going to stop for a second, catch my breath. My legs never hurt. If you're doing cycling right, your legs shouldn't hurt that much. It should be more cardio. But I stopped and I was like, okay, maybe the first segment's like a mile and a half. And really, I only have like a mile and a half to go. No, it wasn't. It was like 2.9 to go, on my little computer. I'm like, oh, crap. So after I got to 1.9, I started thinking in quarter mile increments, because each hundredth of a mile is maybe roughly 50 odd feet. So when I would see the thing tick down by 100th of a mile, I would go, okay, I just made it 50 feet. Like I can do another 50. I can do that again. That was easy. So when I stopped at 1.9 miles to go to catch my breath, because that's the other piece of it. It's not just uphill, but it's uphill at altitude, right? So you're at like 12,000 feet. It's a little different. I said, okay, I'm going to make it to 1.65 miles. It's like 20, it's a quarter of a mile from here. I can do a quarter of a mile. And I got to 165. I'm like, I can do 164. I can do 163. And when I got to 163, I was like, I can do 160. And at 161, I was like, no, I can't. And so I'd stop. I'm like, all right, now I can do like 125, right? And like I had all these little checkpoints of agreed upon, it's okay to stop here and catch my breath. That's how I made it up that hill. And I would go a little bit beyond that, based on how I was feeling. And then I think that I did the last 3/4 of a mile. But there was never a spot where I was like, I'm not going to do this. It was just like, I need to stop here for a second and get my heart rate to come back down into the 140s. And then I will friggin' pedal my ass off for another
keep going
90 seconds and see where I end up.
It's funny, the similarity there, because when I do marathons, I do the math in my head. I'm continually doing math in my head. And it's amazing how tired I am. And I can keep my brain occupied forever because my ability to do math is so awful. Like 15 miles in, my ability to do math is just horrible. And then I'm like, wait a minute, was that right? What was that number? Hold on. Before I know it, time has gone by.
I mean, basically it's like skiing with Doug. You just basically watch all the fast people go downhill and then you go, I'll catch them eventually. And then you catch them and you're like, hey, I'm going to take a break. Is it cool? And then Doug goes, I've been friggin' braking. I've been waiting for you for 25 minutes. So I'm not tired anymore. I'm going to go. And so like when I go to take a break, Doug's already had a break and off he goes again. So
is this like you on that 5K where you waited for Mrs. OG toward the finish line?
It's funny because I told that story to my friends who were there, and I feel like it happened to me again, but it happened like 60 miles earlier. I waited for my friend for almost an hour at the Loveland ski area because I looked on the map and I was like, oh, he's like only 2.5 miles away. Well, at 5 miles an hour, that's 30 minutes. And then when he got there, he was like, I need to take a break. And then so we started to go, but he's a stronger cyclist than me by a lot. And so he was like, all right, I'll see you at the top. And I'm like, oh, I should have just kept going and I would have stayed ahead of him. And so we get to get to the finish. He's changed and showered and they're cheering. And I'm like,
oh,
but no, it was a great event. It's well attended. It's well supported across the entire event. The biggest thing for me was this, and this was not a stated goal, but it was, I'm glad it happened the way it did because, so Lissa and Caroline came out, they were on their way to Michigan. So they were going to come to the race for a few days and support me. And so they did a bunch of cool stuff, which was fun. But as they were staying in Frisco, they came back down the mountain to meet me on one of the climbs. And they stopped at Loveland and they're like, I think this is where this is. And they were like stopping there looking at it. And Lissa said that she was telling me the story that she said, that she's like, well, I see this road, but that can't be the road. It's very steep. That can't be it. And then it kind of goes this way. And then she's like, no, it must not be that because look how high that is. And then she was like looking and she goes, wait, are those cyclists up there? And so the girls together, I think, and I asked my daughter this, I was like, did you actually think I was going to get it done? And she was like, she kind of gave me the look like, kind of like the I love you, Dad, but that looked pretty crazy, so I wouldn't have faulted you if you didn't, you know? And I don't know if Lissa thought I was going to get it done or if she didn't, but it was more interesting to me to see the effect, or at least my perception of the effect on my daughter who's 10, seeing how intense that was, or how it looked, how intense it was, right? Like the slope of the roads like this, and, you know, the mountains way up over there. And like you see a little teeny tiny cyclist way at the top, and thinking in her head, like, there's no friggin' way my dad's doing that. I love him, but he is fat, and there's no way that he is pedaling his fat ass up that mountain.
I've seen him house a case of Doritos.
Yeah. Like, this is the dude that like chain smokes cigars, you know, and drinks bourbon by the pool. Like, he's not doing that. And then I did it, and, you know, there's never a doubt in my mind, but I'm happy to have done it and have my daughter witness that, because I think maybe in my own mind, she got to see, like, okay, she put it all together. Like, Father's Day this year, Father's Day brunch, I didn't go to because I was training. So they went to Father's Day brunch without the father. And they were like, where? They're like, hi, who, Dad?
Who we
is
celebrating?
He parking the car? Like, what? They're like, oh yeah, he's not coming. We're just here for the brunch. You know, so she saw all of the sacrifice and the training and the time, and the fact that it was okay to miss some things, and it was okay to do you, basically, right? Like, hey, I've got this priority that is hard and I need to be in shape for. And then to see the outcome of it, and then kind of witness how intense it was, or at least in her mind, like, whatever. And then to see the finish. I think my hope is that the byproduct of this is that she recognized, like, training, doing hard stuff, it's okay to, you know, prioritize things that are important to you. And if you put as much effort into it as you can, you're not going to be first. I wasn't first by a mile, right? But I finished, I was successful, I was happy about it, you know, so maybe that has some long lasting benefit for her. But I'm glad that she got to stop there and see that hill, because I think even my wife was like, yeah, we might just park the car here just in case. Is
there ambulance service here?
Pick this guy up right here. Like, I mean, halfway is not bad, right? I mean, that's pretty good. 50 miles is a long bike ride. I mean, hell, that's a really long time.
Hey, you made it the first 400 yards.
Yeah. So it was a great event. Glad I did it. And you know, we'll see what happens in the future. Maybe we should get all the stackers together. And then you guys can do too. Sounds great, right? We could all, Doug, you get your, like, don't you have one of those ones with the bell? It's a ding, ding, ding.
I do. My basket might hold enough liquid, like,
no, they give it to you along the way. You know, you just.
Oh, I don't need that. Okay.
Yeah. Actually,
I got the perfect bike. I got Cheryl's e-bike.
You know, you can use e-bikes as a matter of fact.
But I don't even really need to pedal. I can ride it like a motorcycle and just.
Yeah, you can do a class 1 e-bike, which is interesting. This actually sounds like the race that we should do, fellas. It's in Illinois. It's called the Tour de Donut. It's a annual bike race in Illinois. You ride 34 miles, so even the most untrained person could do that. I mean, your butt would hurt. Each donut eaten takes 5 minutes off your total time.
I would go back in time.
You stop twice to eat donuts, with each donut knocking 5 minutes off your time. The winner, Colin, ate 16 donuts and finished with an adjusted winning time of 43 minutes.
When is this? What month is this?
It doesn't say, but it also says if you don't want to do the 34 miler, you can do a 12 miler with one donut stop. I feel like signing us all up for that just because I think that would be a friggin' racket. We could all have, you know, I would just want to see you guys in those cycling bibs.
I was going to ask, do we get to see pictures of you in your sexy outfit?
Yeah, they're all over the gram, bro. You didn't catch any of that on the gram?
No, I don't do the gram.
Yeah, that's too bad.
Oh boy,
got a whole reel already.
I do Facebook.
The way I take notes is way different than it used to be. You should do it too. It's this wonderful, magical program called Granola. Granola is an AI-powered notepad built for the way real people actually meet. You take rough notes like you normally would, and in the background, Granola is securely transcribing the entire meeting. Then it turns everything into clean, structured, actually useful notes when the meeting ends. If meetings are eating up your day too, Granola is a no-brainer. You can try it totally free by heading to granola.ai/SB.
From taco night in Tulum to sushi in Tokyo, make every bite rewarding with Gold from Amex. Wherever you dine, 4 times the membership rewards points at restaurants worldwide are piling up. Learn more at americanexpress.com/explore-gold. Terms and points cap apply.